The sound of shattering glass, a collective gasp from a crowd, the slow, wet drip of crimson wine on a pristine white tuxedo shirt. A voice, cold and dripping with contempt, cuts through the silence. "Someone get this clown a mop." Laughter erupts. A crisp $100 bill is tucked into the stained fabric, a condescending pat on the cheek. "There's your tip. Know your place." The camera holds on the victim's face, but there's no anger there. Only a deep, unsettling calm in his eyes. A quiet promise. In the high-stakes world of American billionaires, where old money empires are built on pedigree and perception, reputation is the ultimate currency. On this glittering night, inside a ballroom dripping with chandeliers and arrogance, the illustrious Blackwell family, pillars of high society, made a catastrophic error in judgment. They believed they were humiliating a simple waiter, a nameless servant who had inconvenienced their evening. They were wrong. This single public act of cruelty, this flex of power against someone they deemed powerless, set in motion a chain of events that would reverberate through boardrooms and stock exchanges. With that $100 bill and a pat on the cheek, they unknowingly ignited a fuse connected to their entire $900 million legacy. And the man holding the match, the man they had just tried to pay off, was the only person in the room with the power to watch it all burn. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. But who was this seemingly ordinary man they had just provoked? The question burning in everyone's mind was, who was the waiter? The answer lay in the heart of cutting-edge innovation, the sterile, brilliant environment of the Nexus Technologies quantum processor lab, a world away from the glittering gala. The next logical question was why a billionaire heir was in a rented tux. The answer was a stark contrast, found in Thomas Fischer's surprisingly modest apartment, a clear testament to the values he was raised with. A world of humility versus one of hubris. And finally, the ultimate question was how you destroy an empire in seconds. The answer would be found in the terrifying, rapid-fire collapse of stock market numbers for Blackwell Industries' hemorrhaging value. A digital avalanche of red. This is a story about hubris, humility, and the most expensive mistake a family ever made. To understand the magnitude of their error, we must first understand the players. The Blackwell name was synonymous with old money and influence, a dynasty built over generations. Patriarch Harrison Blackwell, a titan of industry known for his ruthless business tactics and a belief that intimidation was the purest form of leverage, presided over the family fortune. His children, Bradley and Vanessa, were the products of this environment. Entitled heirs to the throne, celebrated in society pages for their lavish excess and infamous on social media for their cruel antics and blatant mistreatment of staff, the Blackwell brand was one of aggressive, hostile takeovers, a philosophy of crushing opposition. They had a long-standing reputation for humiliating business rivals and social climbers at high-profile events, a cruel sport for their amusement. They operated under a single, unshakable assumption: their immense wealth made them utterly untouchable. It was a belief that would cost them everything. In stark contrast stood the Fischer family. James Fischer, the founder of Nexus Technologies, was a self-made visionary. His story began not in a boardroom, but in a cluttered garage, piecing together his first computer with relentless determination. He built his empire on innovation and integrity, valuing merit and character above pedigree and privilege. He instilled these very values in his son, Thomas, raising him with deliberate humility. There was no trust fund, no easy path. Thomas Fischer earned his way, starting as a low-level intern at Nexus, working 18-hour days alongside his engineers in the lab, earning their respect through sheer brilliance and dedication. He was a quiet, intensely observant man, fiercely protective of his father's legacy and the culture they had built. The key to it all was their revolutionary quantum processor, a technological marvel that promised to redefine the future. Every major corporation, including the mighty Blackwell Industries, was desperate for a partnership, seeing it as the only way to secure their own dominance. The stage was set for a collision of two opposing worlds. The invitation to the charity gala arrived on Thomas's desk, a formal entry into the lion's den. His father's call from Tokyo was brief, but weighted. "The Blackwells will be there. Their investment could accelerate everything," James Fischer said, his voice calm yet serious. "But remember, value is in character, not capital." The words would become a prophecy. Stepping into the gala was like entering a different universe, one where wealth was worn as armor and status as a weapon. Thomas Fischer's arrival was immediately met with the subtle dismissals that defined this world. A security guard directing him toward the staff entrance. A necessary but quietly humiliating verification of his invitation, and the cold, appraising glances from the Blackwell circle that sized him up and found him lacking. Harrison Blackwell's whisper to his son, Bradley, echoed just loud enough to be heard. "New money?" followed by a derisive chuckle. But Thomas Fischer did not engage. He became an observer, a silent analyst, gathering crucial data. He saw the true nature of the Blackwell empire. Bradley Blackwell publicly berating a young waiter over the temperature of champagne, reducing the man to a stammering wreck. Vanessa Blackwell extending a foot, accidentally tripping a busboy, her laughter ringing out as crystal glasses and china plates shattered on the marble floor. The staff moved through the room with tight, fearful smiles, a clear indicator of a toxic culture. Thomas wasn't just at a party. He was conducting the most critical due diligence of his career, and he was discovering a fatal flaw in the very character of Blackwell Industries. The incident itself unfolded with a brutal, slow-motion clarity. As Thomas moved through the crowd, Vanessa Blackwell turned, striking the champagne flute in his hand. The crimson liquid arced through the air, splashing across his rented tuxedo. A hush fell, then was broken by Bradley's mocking voice. "Someone call the rental company. This waiter needs a replacement." The crowd's laughter was a weapon. Then Harrison Blackwell himself strode forward, his presence silencing the room. His manicured fingers produced a $100 bill, which he tucked into Thomas's stained breast pocket. He delivered the line that would become his epitaph, patting Thomas's cheek with a condescending force. "There's your trouble money. Know your place." The cameras flashed, capturing the humiliation. But as the focus zoomed in on Thomas Fischer's face, there was no anger, no shame. The heat of the wine was replaced by an ice-cold resolve. The humiliation was personal, but his response would be professional, precise, and devastating. In that moment, the potential partnership with Blackwell Industries wasn't just off the table. The entire table was about to be flipped over. The morning after the gala, Thomas Fischer was back in his natural habitat, the Nexus Technologies headquarters. The rented tuxedo was gone, replaced by a simple tech hoodie. The opulent ballroom was swapped for a screen filled with the elegant, complex code of the quantum processor. The air was calm, a stark contrast to the previous night's chaos. This was where he held real power, not in a social gathering, but in the realm of innovation. A secure video call connected him to his father, James Fischer, in Tokyo. There was no anger in Thomas's voice, only a cold, factual recounting of the Blackwells' behavior, a summary of their character. His father listened intently, his expression one of disappointment, not in his son, but in the situation. He did not command or dictate. His final words were simple, reinforcing the very principle that defined their company. "It's your call, son. I trust your judgment." The message was clear. The decision, and the power to respond, was entirely in Thomas's hands. The values of Nexus Technologies would be upheld, but a reaction driven by pure emotion would be wasted. For Thomas Fischer, this was now a strategic problem requiring a tactical solution. Revenge without a plan is just noise. Thomas needed a precise instrument, a financial hammer. He assembled a small, trusted team of analysts, and they began a deep forensic dive into the public financial architecture of Blackwell Industries. They studied dynamic charts, SEC filings, and debt maturity schedules. The discovery was everything he needed. Blackwell Industries was dangerously overleveraged. Their entire $900 million empire was a house of cards, its stability completely dependent on a single, desperate gambit: securing the partnership with Nexus Technologies. That deal was meant to send their stock price soaring, allowing them to secure new loans and pay off old debts. It was their only lifeline. Thomas's plan crystallized. He would not merely deny them the partnership, he would actively hand it to their most fierce and capable competitor. This would be the signal to the entire market that Blackwell Industries was finished, a pariah not worth investing in, triggering the collapse they had worked so hard to avoid. Thomas Fischer looked at the live Bloomberg terminal on his wall, at the ticking symbol for Blackwell Industries. They believed the previous night was about a social slight and a stained tuxedo. They were about to learn it was always about a balance sheet. To fully comprehend the downfall, we must return to the gala, to the moments just before the spill, to the auction that first revealed the chasm between these two families. The scene revisits the opulent ballroom, now viewed through Thomas Fischer's analytical eyes. The auctioneer, a charismatic former television personality, presents lavish lots, luxury vacations, rare artwork, absurdly overpriced trinkets. With each new item, the Blackwells engage in a vulgar display of their wealth, Bradley and Vanessa joyfully driving up prices on frivolities, not for the charity but for the sport of it, to see others flinch first. Harrison Blackwell watches his children with a smug, approving grin. Then, the final lot is announced. The auctioneer's voice drops to a serious, reverent tone. And now, the crown jewel of the evening. The first commercial partnership rights for the revolutionary Nexus Technologies quantum processor. The room falls into a stunned electric silence. This isn't a trinket. It is the key to the next decade of technological dominance. Harrison Blackwell rises slowly, deliberately, his eyes locking onto Thomas Fischer from across the room. He doesn't just bid, he issues a challenge. $1 million. At that moment, Thomas's phone vibrates. A single text from his father, James Fischer, appears. "Your call. Remember our values." Thomas Fischer stands. Every head turns. He does not look at the auctioneer. He looks directly at Harrison Blackwell. His voice is calm, clear, and carries absolute finality. "The partnership is not for sale." A pause. "Not to you." He sits. The silence shatters into a torrent of frantic, shocked whispers. The Blackwell family is left standing, publicly and utterly rebuffed. The real explosion, however, happened when the markets opened on Monday morning. The news broke instantly across every major financial network and ticker tape that Nexus Tech announced an exclusive partnership with Apex Dynamics, a Blackwell rival. The effect on Blackwell Industries was immediate and catastrophic. A real-time stock chart for BWI showed a line that didn't dip or decline. It simply detached and plummeted in a sheer vertical freefall of red. Headlines flashed in rapid succession about Blackwell Industries in free fall, a mysterious Nexus snub sparking a historic sell-off, and $900 million wiped out in minutes. The sound was a symphony of panic, the frantic, screaming chaos of the trading floor, the incessant shrill ringing of phones, the aggressive buzzing of news alerts on countless devices. In mere moments, the wealth and influence the Blackwells had cultivated for generations evaporated, triggered not by a complex market shift, but by a single, deliberate decision made by the man they had called a waiter. The fallout was as swift as it was severe. Inside the opulent Blackwell Industries headquarters, sheer panic erupted. Harrison Blackwell was pale and defeated, staring blankly as the numbers on his screen spiraled into oblivion, his life's work dissolving in real time. Lawyers scrambled, fielding frantic margin calls from lenders demanding immediate repayment. In a cruel twist of irony, Bradley and Vanessa Blackwell were largely oblivious to the financial catastrophe, instead whining about their suddenly canceled credit lines and unavailable trust funds, proving they had learned nothing of value or responsibility. The final public humiliation came from a business news anchor speculating live on air. "Sources close to the deal," she said. indicate Nexus's withdrawal followed an intense due diligence report that raised serious, unresolvable concerns about corporate culture. The broadcast then cut to the grainy, leaked cell phone video from the gala, Vanessa Blackwell's wine spill, Bradley's mocking tone, Harrison's condescending pat on the cheek, and the fateful words, "Know your place." Now the world saw the truth. Their empire wasn't destroyed by a market crash or a savvy rival. It was destroyed by a single $100 bill and a moment of pure, unchecked arrogance. The market wasn't just betting against their business model, it was betting against their very character. In the end, this story transcends a simple tale of revenge. It stands as a stark cautionary tale for the modern age, a lesson that in a hyper-connected world where information is instantaneous, reputation is the most valuable currency and humility is the ultimate strategic advantage. The final scenes show Thomas Fischer back where he began in the Nexus lab, focused not on celebration, but on building and innovating, upholding the values that defined his success. The Blackwells had dedicated themselves to teaching their children about bloodlines, trust funds, and social superiority. James Fisher dedicated himself to teaching his son about integrity, merit, and character. And in a single silent, devastating minute, that lesson proved to be worth over $900 million. The final shot holds on a simple frame mounted on Thomas Fisher's office wall. Inside it is not a degree or a prestigious award, but that same $100 bill, preserved behind glass. A small, brass plaque beneath it bears two words, a permanent reminder of the cost of hubris. Know your place. This incredible story forces us to ask some difficult, complex questions. Was Thomas Fisher's cold, calculated response a justified defense of his family's values, or did it cross a line into an abuse of immense power? And given their lifetime of privilege, could the Blackwells have ever possibly seen this coming? Or were they doomed by their own arrogance? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for tomorrow's plot.